Yeah, I'll always be a metalhead. Nothing can take that away from me.
Right.
I mean, not jail, not people, not religion, not anything. I'll always be a metalhead, 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 metalhead.
You're listening to the Great Metal Debate Podcast.
Hello, Great Metal Debate fans. It's good to be back. This is Brian coming at you with another album review. I'm just going to come right out and fess up at the beginning of this review. Sometimes, unless I am spoon-fed the particular CD that I'm reviewing, I have been known to be a little narrow and narrow-minded about my metal. And you can all kiss my ass about that, I don't care. But in the light of that revelation, I had not heard much music or information about the enduring thrash band from Phoenix, Arizona with the awesome name of Flotsam and Jetsam. Okay, so what's that got to do with the music review? Well, with my new / limited exposure / perspective, you'll get a truly unique thing, an honest, non-comparative review of a band that's got 13 studio albums out. And yet, I hadn't heard much about them. I didn't know Flotsam and Jetsam, and then I listened to their latest offering, The End of Chaos. Now, let's just say I got a lot of freaking awesome metal homework to catch up on this weekend. Alright, so let's talk about Flotsam and Jetsam's 13th full-length studio album from AFM Records, The End of Chaos. This 12-track assault from the current metal quintet is manned by Eric, a.k.a. Knutson, the vocalist, Michael Gilbert and Steve Conley, both guitarists, Michael Spencer on bass, and the new guy, Ken Mary, that's the drummer. Knutson, the old man of the group, is joined by Gilbert and Conley. Gilbert and Conley have had seasons of hiatus from the band. They all have, actually, but were around at the beginning and then now as they continue on. Bassist Spencer has had 2 short stints with the band, and Mary is the newcomer, joining for this last album. However long each member has been around, they all play an intricate part on the latest juggernaut of true thrash metal. It's a strange brew considering that frontman vocalist Knutson in one interview said that initially metal music was, quote, too heavy for him. Well, he seems to have gotten over that shit in a major way. And I'll talk about his special edition to The End of Chaos some more in a moment because it's worthy of special mention. Now, as I approached this album, I realized it was both a good and a bad thing that I didn't have jack shit to compare it to. You get fresh music from a well-known band to the genre, listened to by an occasionally closed-minded headbanger from hell. The 80s middleman in me feels 3 things about this album right off the bat. This album fucking rocks. It's headbanging from start to finish. I don't detect a lot of pussy ballad music on it, which means the bullshit is left behind. The closest the album comes to a, quote, power ballad is their haunting rendition set up on the altar of the metal gods of personal pain in the song Recover. It's a serious misnomer. This song hits you in the good parts about an injury to the heart and mind so deep you may never recover. All done at about 120 beats a minute. Hell yeah, take that, Nightwish. You wish Nightwish could convey that type of pain without using slow, weepy music to do it. Okay, second. Friends, if I'd heard this album in 1983, when real metal was played and not artistically emoted... hold on, I had to clean that up. And not artistically emoted swill, I would have considered it, quote, I'm using the air quotes, experimental. It doesn't have that classic high treble, 3-chord progression sound all great metal seems to explode with. It was much more play the right note all the time-ish for that era. Now that said, The End of Chaos was from the beginning a badass album. Literally from the opener, Prisoner of Tom, Flotsam and Jetsam get the party started, and simply bulldozed over everything with their music. Many modern-day metal bands try to get in touch with their artistic inner child by using folk fairy instruments. These gathering on the porch in the holler instruments, they try to bring their metal with it. Well, with Flotsam and Jetsam, the onslaught continues for all 12 songs. Not once is there a bagpipe, a flute, or a tambourine heard in the attack. Songs such as Prepare for Chaos, Good or Bad, and my personal favorite, Demolition Man, were played so immensely and intensely that I'm sure Rajasthani folk musical instruments all over the world were blowing up like a Samsung smartphone roasting the ears of whoever had it next to their head. Okay, listen, the third thing that I noticed about this album, and I'm a little scared to mention this, are the lyrics. They're badass. Listen, they're dark and deep, addressing pain, heartache, insanity, disaster, despair, fantastical realms, and generally dark-heartedness. And here I very begrudgingly have to give an obligatory shout-out to the A in Gomthog's definition of metal. And listen, if any one of you listeners want to go back through some of the old podcasts and find out what A in the acronym metal stands for, well, if you're the first one to hit me up with that, I'll make sure that Gomthog personally does a sexual favor for you, or, to you, depending on your point of view. Point is, Flotsam and Jetsam on the End of Chaos address the issues all good metalheads deal with in life. And yet, none of that mattered. The kick-ass lyrics are secondary to the kick-ass, back-breaking music that caused me to bang my head from start to finish. I experienced metal on a primal, neck-traumatizing level, and this album meets all the criteria for that type of album. One thing that surprisingly stood out on the End of Chaos were the vocals of A.K. Nutbuster. Okay, I'm not sure that's his name, but it ought to be. Listen, regardless of his name, dude can fucking wail. I kept thinking he sounds like some vocalist I love, which can be a very complimentary thing. However, he has a style you can't pin him down to. That's kind of a rare thing in the industry. At times, sounded a little like Dio. At times, a little like Jeff Tate from early Queensryche. And at other times, he was even a little like Dickinson. A.K. Nutout and the boys from the band can kick ass. Gilbert and Conley grasped the concept of the highly distorted, focused, bellicosic need that lies with true metal. And then while Knutson and the Guitar Boys provide the spice of this meaty dish, Spencer and Mary lay down a basic roux of hard-driving, hard-wired metal that keeps the End of Chaos upright on the perilous sea of metal. If I'm pressed, the biggest recommendation I could find for the End of Chaos is to encourage Flotsam and Jetsam to add some diversity to their general tone. And by that, I mean, take away the diversity. Listen, they've mastered the, quote, art of heavy metal, and it shows in every song. At times giving them sort of an air of similitude in many of their songs. This may seem crazy, but it's also very metal. Don't be afraid to dumb it down. Trust in the simplicity of the music and the brotherhood of the musicians and the audience together as they reach for that peak orgasm of metal enjoyment. Branch out and branch down, and then let's swing on the vines as we headbang into unconsciousness. In conclusion, I wrap up with a simile that I use quite often when speaking of great metal bands and music. And listen, I'm going to confess, I'm not sure whether it's born of some latent homoerotic fantasy I have, or it's just the best way I can describe what I'm hearing. But Flotsam and Jetsam's The End of Chaos is a grab you by the balls and come along with us wherever we're going to take you endeavor. It's a gravel gargling, high distortion speed, thrash metal riff and solos album backed by an incredibly heart-pounding bass and drum hardline. Listen, I may be new to Flotsam and Jetsam, but I'm nowhere near done with Flotsam and Jetsam, not by a long shot. And I don't think they're done with us. I highly recommend Flotsam and Jetsam's The End of Chaos through AFM Records, scoring it an 8.5 out of 10.